Hey, how's it going? Eric again with Diary of a Backmarker. Kind of a quick note, the running joke of a backmarker is basically someone that runs in the back of the field, hence backmarker. They're usually the slowest cars or some of the slower drivers, so that's why I picked that name. It was kind of a joke because when I first started, I was a backmarker, or basically like a mobile roadblock for the most part that the faster drivers had to avoid. So it's just a fun name, and I know a lot of I've gotten compliments with a couple of the people I've had to contact through with the SCCA, and the topic of the video is the Level Up Racing School. I finally took the dive with the racing school and got my feet wet with the Spec Miatas. It is pretty pricey. I want to say it's about like 3.5 grand or so, and then I believe it's another 500 for insurance or so. And it, as pricey as it is, I want to say I probably got about 8 hours of track time ish, if not really close to that, and a lot of really good coaching. They did a really phenomenal job of breaking things down, especially with someone who's never done heel toe, who's never been in a race car other than my sim rig. That was the closest I've ever been to a race car. And it was fun. So like the very first thing we did, and unfortunately I don't have the footage from the first day just because I was a little hesitant to be strapping in my my action camera into the car, but I asked them at the end of the day if I could, so then the next day I ended up doing that. But the first day you're just working on heel toe. It's very important skills with a manual shifter or a manual car, and as opposed to a sequential shifter. So for those of you that don't know, a sequential shifter is just if you pull down on the handle, you shift up. If you push up, you'll shift down. And then there's paddle shifters, which is what you see on like the real fancy supercars or F1 cars, where you're just blipping, you're just pulling on a paddle and you're shifting up. With H pattern, it's a manual transmission, so you have to press in the clutch, you gotta shift. And that's the easy part, and for those of you that drive manuals, great, it's easy. The heel toe part, as I said before, that's the tough part, and the very first day I was not getting it at all. I'd either be like too on the throttle, not enough on the throttle, not enough on the brake, and they were very patient, saying that like, look, it's just something that's going to have to sit. And then by the second day, which is a lot of the footage, actually the footage you will be seeing, is I was able to heel toe much more consistently. You'll hear when I do it too much or incorrectly, and when you hear the engine rev like way too much, and you see that going into Canada corner at Road America. So that was the first day, is just going up. We basically went down the main straight, hard on the brake, blip the throttle, rev down, and then rev up, and then shift down. And then basically we would turn around, and then we'd actually drive the wrong way in the pit lane. It's the same exact thing, revving, and you just repeat that over and over, just so you get used to the car, how the car accelerates, and just trying to get used to the concept of that heel toe shifting. And they did a great job of really emphasizing that, and that's really stuck with me. And then it was cool. We went on track. I believe it was like a 5,000 RPM rev limit or so that we couldn't go past. I mean, you go past a little bit, and it's not going to hurt the car, but it just to keep the speed slower, because you don't want to be just trying to gun it down the track right off the bat as fast as you can, because that's a quick way to get damaged or fly off the track. Let me see. Then from there. So then day 2 was a much quicker day. We weren't focusing on the heel toe or just driving in the straight line as much, trying to work on something called trail braking, which is something that as a daily driver, and like heel toe shifting and trail braking are some things that you will never need as a daily driver. But the best way to think about it is that there's only like 100% that you can use in a wheel. So like, let's just say I brake using 50% of the wheel, but I steer trying to use 60% of the wheel. That's 110%. You're asking too much from the wheel now. So now because of that, your car is probably gonna understeer, which is basically, it's gonna drift out the wrong way. Oversteer, it kind of, the rear end kicks out. Understeer, the front end doesn't want to turn in, and you want to avoid that. Now the other thing too with trail braking is that you don't want to get on the gas and then get off the gas and then get really hard on the brake and then get off the brake and on the gas, because if you think about it, it's going to change the momentum. So as you brake, the car will angle down, and then when you get off the brake, if you just get off, the car will kind of angle up. You lose the grip on the front tires. So what you're doing is, as you're turning, the more you as you turn, as you start to open up the wheel, meaning, you know, less of a turn, you start getting off the brake at the same time. So what this does is that it keeps the front end to bite down real hard, and then it lets you turn and get more grip on the front tires. That's a real hard concept to learn, because like I said, as a daily driver, you're never going to need trail braking whatsoever. So that's something I've been struggling with still, especially with trying to use my right foot to trail brake as opposed to my left foot. I'm kind of used to it in like GT3 cars, LMP2 cars on the sim rig, just because, you know, you don't need the left foot for the clutch. So that was tough to get a hold of. And the other thing is trying to get over the fear of crashing the car, because like with sim racing, if I crash, I can just hit start, reset, appear magically back in the pits, and then I got a brand new car that's gonna work. You don't have that luxury, obviously, in real life. So there's one corner at Road America called the Kink, and it never was a scary corner for me in sim racing. I could just take it flat or as fast as I could, and that was never an issue. It's like whatever. But that's a turn that you'll feel the understeer, and you kind of have to accept the understeer, and you'll understeer towards the wall, which is even scarier, because the runoff is there with the rumble strips. But if you go past that, you're hitting grass, and you're probably going to go into a wall. So that turn was a little scary for me. And then basically we kind of went through, you know, start-stop procedures of, you know, being in the parade lap, and then we would switch around. So like, I believe I started in the second row, and then basically after we did that practice, waiting for the green flag, we would switch, and then I had to be in the front. And then, you know, they had other things of like a passing drill. So they put cones out, and that cone was basically like the slower car. So we would like get behind the car, get really close, flare out, and then try and pass and not hit the cones. Luckily I didn't hit any cones, but I probably was going too slow too. And then from there, at the end of the day, they just let us go. I believe they bumped us up to like a 6,500 RPM limit, so we can go much faster. And that was a blast. Unfortunately, what happened with my car, the alternator died. So you'll see in the footage is that you'll hear no more engine noise, and because of that, I'm not able to get on the throttle. And luckily I just threw on my hazard lights. I let the guys pass through because I don't want to be in danger. And then I completely lost, and like I said, I lost any gas whatsoever. So I had to pull over, and then that's when they start waving the yellow flags to let the other drivers know that, hey, there's a potential hazard on the track, so just be careful. I pulled off because I don't want to be in the middle of the track. That's much more dangerous. And then I was able to get the car started. I pulled in. I let them know, like, hey, I think something's wrong. And that's when they said it was the alternator. And I want to say one of the coolest things that I got from this school, because this was the last run of the day, because we were going in 2 groups. So one group would be at the school taking lessons, you know, of a lesson plan of learning like what the drill was, and then the other crew would just be out on the track getting track time. So we were the second group, so this was the last part of the day, and I want to say there might have been less than 8 minutes left in the session. And the guy said, hey, do you want to hop into another car? And I'm like, oh, you know, by the time I get out of this car into the other car, you know, I'll get like 1 lap in or something like that. And then he's like, oh, don't worry about it. And I got into a different car. I didn't want to take the time to get the other action camera in there. I wanted to just get back on the track. And it was really cool of them because I noticed after a while, I'm like, where are the other cars? I'm like, I haven't seen anyone. And they let me stay out longer to get my 8 minutes in. And they didn't have to, because like, it was the end of the day. They probably want to go home. You know, they don't need to be there. But I thought it was like, I was super appreciative that I got basically 2-3 extra laps in, despite them not having to. So that was really cool. Since then, it's been, I've kind of told everyone, like, I've never done like hard drugs or anything like that, but I believe that's probably how it is, because I haven't been able to get the sights, sounds, and smell out of my mind. Like just hearing the pops and the bangs and everything inside that car, the sound of it, just sitting inside of a Spec Miata. It's not the coolest race car in the world. I think they're really cool, but like not as cool as like, you know, LMP2s, LMP1s, you know, hypercars, GT3s, GT4s, etc. But it was cool, and basically, like, I've been telling you, it was like I've been waiting for my next hit, and I really need that, which is why I'm really excited for Road America, and it's my home track. It's only about an hour away from me, so I consider Road America my home track. And I'm just so excited to be on the track. It was really awesome for the Level Up Racing School to be offering such a service. Big thank you to Advanced Auto. They're the ones that provide the Spec Miatas, maintain them, gas them up, fuel them, get the tires ready. And then, as usual, a huge thank you to Bug Blasters Incorporated for helping me out financially and basically getting me that much closer to racing. So that's the end of this video. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.